Hey, everybody, this is Dr. William Clark here. I am the host of the Dr. William Clark podcast, and I'm glad to be with you today. As we've been going through this global pandemic, we've been exploring, obviously, fundraising strategies pre and post Corona. But it's been more important now more than ever before to talk about how nonprofits can stay afloat. And while we talk about fundraising and raising money and supporting the cause that we are championing, the reality is we need to get better at marketing as well, especially now where a lot of us are vulnerable. A lot of us are trying to figure out how to sustain and move forward. And our message must be on point, especially now. Funders are wondering what we are doing, how we're going to navigate, how we're going to move forward, how we're going to still serve people. And to that end, I have my guest on this morning, Elizabeth Papalone. She is a marketing expert. And Elizabeth, glad to have you on this morning. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm good. I'm good.
Well, thank you for joining me and thank you for talking about this all important topic. And we're going to be talking about marketing and branding for nonprofits during the crisis. And I really hate to do that or talk about that, Elizabeth, but I think there's just this elephant in the room that we just can't ignore, that there's a crisis going on. I mean, real quick, let's just kick off about you and then we'll get into the questions. Tell us a little bit about you and your business and what people should know about you.
Well, I've been a marketer for about 20 years, and I really started marketing at the age of 7, which I love marketing. It's like my passion. And so I've been doing this for a long time, and I've seen pretty much everything. I actually started my own business during the recession of 2009, and so I started in 2007. So it was kind of on that edge of, is it going to happen or is it not? And I was just like, you know what, I'm going to do it. And I had to live through that recession. I had to innovate through that recession. And the only growth I'd really seen was actually the past 3 years. So I spent 10 years in my business just hustling, like figuring out, how do I make this work when no one has any money, businesses are closing all around me, and kind of trying to be a leader in that without having to have like that icky self feeling, because no one was really like had any money to do anything at that point.
So that's interesting. So 2008 was when I lost my first business. I mean, that crash was tremendous. And I started my business several years before that. So it was an amazing time to have a business. And certainly I know there were businesses that thrived. I was fortunate enough to get the business up and running while the recession was still going on. So I was able to reap the benefits of that. Um, how did you navigate through a tough time like the recession back in 08, 09?
It was a lot of brainstorming. I know people in this world today, we just go and we keep continue. We're just next thing, next thing, next thing. And when something like this hits, you lose a business or your business gets arbitrarily shut down for reasons beyond your control or whatever that happens, we really have to sit and think. And I don't think we do that enough. We don't have this space to actually go, what are my next steps? We just take the next step in most cases. But when things like this happen, or things like the recession happened, we can actually sit and actually brainstorm about our own business, whether it's with coaches, with other people, with clients even, and to really get that next step that's a solid next step. It's kind of like the Indiana Jones scene where he's going to step out on the ledge and he doesn't see anything there, and he's like, I don't know. And usually we just run across, we're just like, I can't even worry about this right now. But right now, and in those times, we have this ability to say, okay, I'm going to take this step, I'm going to think about the step, and then know that it's going to be solid when I step out.
Yeah, that is so good. I think for me, I think several years prior to, I was plotting on the business I launched. It was a real estate business. And I bought when the bubble was super hot and I had no insight into what was getting ready to happen. But it was after things failed and we lost everything that, like you talked about, you kind of put into practice these thoughtful steps. And it was because of that I re-entered the business from a different perspective, different angle, different approach, and it was an amazing journey after that. So, with that being said, I do want to talk about marketing and branding for nonprofits during the crisis, as I think this is in no way comparison to the 08, 09 crisis. It's different from 9/11, but there's this pattern. every 10 years, something happens that rocks the normalcy of our life and
Hmm.
certainly business. And we are living through history. So I want to help people. I want to help businesses. I want to help nonprofits who are going to watch this today, who are going to watch this next quarter, next month, how to navigate through a crisis and come out of it from a marketing perspective. So let's start here. Share with us some basic marketing skills you believe every nonprofit should master.
There are actually five. I have a system I call absolute marketing, and it's the absolute lowest common denominator, all you really need. And those five pieces start with branding. That's the first pillar. It really is the foundation, the bedrock of your entire marketing plan and of your entire business in general. Because you want people to know who you are. You want them to remember who you are, and you want them to be able to share that without embarrassment, if you will. Because I know a lot of people who I've met, and even in the past 3 4 years, that have said to me, don't look at my website, I'm embarrassed. Don't look at my card, that logo's old. It doesn't represent who we are. And so having this, I'll do it later, it's not that big a deal. It's just a logo, that mentality really does harm any business, nonprofits, for profits, it doesn't matter. So that piece is solid. You have to have that really, really down, and you have to know that that's the right thing for you and for your company and your organization before you can really do anything else, because everything else is influenced by that. Your flyers, your fundraising events, your website, your social media postings, all your emails, everything is influenced by your logo and your brand. So
And so you talked about branding. Are there others that you can share with us that we need to master?
yeah, so the other four are going to be your website. And like I said, a lot of people are embarrassed by their sites. A lot of sites don't work. I've worked with a lot of nonprofits who've brought me sites, excuse me, that are just not functioning. I mean, they can't even get donations online. They think they can. They feel like it's kind of working, but then people call them and say I couldn't make a donation. And when they have those types of issues on a website, they're not really sitting down and fixing them. They're going, okay, well, just give me your card, and we'll just charge you this way. And they're not even realizing all the people that they're losing and all the donations they're losing just because the other people didn't even call them. So when your website is losing people, and there's analytics that can tell you some of these things, but just having someone audit your site and go, this is not good. There's a problem here. How can we fix this? How can we make this functional? Because you don't even know the untold numbers of people that are actually leaving your site and just never donating because it's too difficult. It's not loading. There's no way they can donate. The donation it's all convoluted. They can't get to what they need. So, or they don't understand the site. Sometimes nonprofits go way off the deep end with design and craziness and weird names and all these things. So the consumers are just confused. So having your site really solid is another piece, but it comes from the branding. It's all flowing from that. And then the third
Mhm.
piece is social media. No one should be on social media sitting there every single day. What do I write? What do I say today? That's too much for anybody, even when you have a dedicated person. So, what I help people do is create a year's worth of social media in advance so that you're not sitting there every day, but it's also solid content that you know is going to be relevant. And then the fourth piece is email marketing and blogging. They kind of go fourth and fifth piece. They kind of go hand in hand. And if you can blog, you can write 12 blogs and set them out once a month for a whole year. You're going to say the same things today about your nonprofit that you're saying tomorrow. Maybe this COVID-19 thing might kind of give you some pause and give you some new content, but a lot of this, your same stuff is going to apply. So, really, what we're getting back to with these five pieces: brand, website, social media, blogging, and email marketing, it's really just good marketing. And if we have good, solid marketing, I believe, and I've seen with my clients and with myself, we can weather whatever the economy throws at us because, like you said, it happens every 9 to 10 years.
You left some good stuff there for us to talk about. You said branding, website, social media, email, marketing, and blogging. Of these five, where do you think nonprofits struggle the most? Or is there a tie between a number of them where we as an industry struggle the most?
I believe it comes back to the messaging, and some nonprofits will work with agencies and that will help them get this done. and then it's on execution. So some nonprofits are just, I do this thing and it's really great, and you should love it, pay me money, and that's their message. And then there's other nonprofits that have this really great message, but they have no way to get it out. And there's no vehicles, there's no social media vehicles. They've paid all this money to have someone help them with their message, and now they're kind of broke with that part of it, and they can't implement it on a website, or they don't know how to put it out on social media, or they're not sending emails because they don't want to be annoying to their constituents, or their donors. So I try to get people over those two humps. Those are the two main things I see. They're either coming to me with no message, or they're coming to me with a great message and just no way to really put it out there.
So, but one, I agree with you, but I struggle with this on a regular basis to embrace this as the issue of the nonprofit industry, because when you look at our for-profit counterparts, it's all about sales. It's all about getting the word out to sell as many T-shirts and shoes and hats as possible. And yet, when it comes to our
Mhm.
industry, where I believe our work has a greater impact and meaning, right? There's this bashfulness, and
Yeah.
sometimes it seems like a false humility about getting the message out and telling a story. Why do you have a sense of why, at the core, this industry struggles with that?
In the for-profit world, I've seen people who have that same mentality. There's a lot of them, and typically, and this is just a generalization, so it's not, I'm not bashing my own sex in a way, but typically it's women, and we have this innate, you know kind of barrier against asking for the sale. And so I help a lot of women business owners get over that. That's a lot of my coaching that goes into our branding days, into our website days, because that is a piece where people are like, well, I'm just doing this little thing, it's not really a big deal. And that's the for-profit world. And I think a lot of the for-profit world there's been coaches over the years, Tony Robbins, and like all these people that have kind of pushed us in the for-profit world out of that. We've been kind of drug out of it, pushed out of it. You don't have to do it this way anymore. This is a new way of doing things. And people have accepted that in a general sense. And there's still some people that haven't learned that, and they're getting there. But in the nonprofit world, there's this disparaging thoughts between, I don't have a tangible product that the donor is going to receive, which means I sell you a widget, you get the widget, you use it, you love it, end of story. That's the for-profit world. And so that's a little bit easier of a sell. But in the nonprofit world, it's run by a lot of women. And a lot of these women still have these ideals, and they haven't been in the for-profit world where they've been pushed out of this, and it's been kind of coached out of them. And so I feel like the nonprofit sector has this gap, this confidence gap, really. And that is where I'm trying to come in and say, I've worked with all these for-profit businesses. I'm starting to get more nonprofits that have come to me and said, can you do for me what you did for this for-profit or for these other clients? Because like I said, there's that confidence gap, and that's what I believe is the most important. If you don't believe in the product, I mean, a lot of these nonprofits, this is their heart and soul. Like, they are like, you know, bleeding heart. Like, this is them on a website, in a logo. Like, this is their whole mission, their whole life. I've even had people sit with me. I've had for-profits sit with me, and they love their businesses. But then when the nonprofit directors come in and they sit with me, they cry. They sit there and there's tears streaming down their face, and they're like, these kids or this problem. And they just, I don't know, it's just this like just overwhelming sense of responsibility that they have, but the confidence isn't there. And so when they get that confidence, when they know that their brand is solid, and their website is solid, and they have these pieces that back them up, it's almost like this confidence comes from those pieces, even though it shouldn't, and it doesn't have to. But those pieces give them that confidence to say, I am doing something important. This is bigger than me. And so it just gives them those like building blocks to kind of stand on, their little soapbox, and they can actually stand tall on that. And so that's where I've kind of come in to kind of fill that confidence gap that I see a lot with between for-profits and nonprofits.
So I want to dig in a little bit more. So I'm not going to co-sign that this is a struggle for women. I'll let your comment stand as it is. But I'll say from my perspective in this industry, I've seen it. I've seen it between both genders, where, and you said it good, right? There's an innate barrier of, that we build up to ask for the sale. And I think that asking for the sale is almost embarrassing because when running a business, if you never run a business before, you can feel like if I have this particular widget to sell, all I got to do is just put a poster out, a social media post, and say, "Hey, come buy my widget," or my widget costs $9. No explanation. That's it. And what we don't realize is that that's the beginning and probably primitive steps that we take to ask for the sell.
Mm-hmm.
Every color scheme, every logo, every special event, every grand opening is an ask for the sell.
Mm-hmm.
In my world, right, the grant application is an ask for the sell. The ticket to the gala is an ask for the sell, and there needs to be this persistent drip of asking for the sell because we have bills to pay. We have people on payroll. We have people, communities we're helping. And I love how you said that there's this innate barrier of asking for the sell. But then you also said there's a confidence gap between our for profit brothers and sisters and the nonprofit brothers and sisters. Is there any insight into why there's a gap that exists between the two sectors?
There's this, and I hear this a lot, and I kind of cringe almost when I hear this. There's this kind of common knowledge, or this urban legend, if you will, out there that says that nonprofits are all broke. They have no money and they can't pay for anything, and they're poor, and and so when it comes to coaching and when it comes to resources of like sales resources and sales tactics and those kinds of that sector of the for-profit world, they do not go after the nonprofits in most cases, because they're thinking of this way, that they're poor, they have no money, they're not going to pay a coach. Why would they pay anybody to teach them sales? They're not selling anything. That's the other thing that I hear a lot. So coaches and that industry has kind of turned a little bit away. I mean, there's some nonprofit coaches out there still, and that's still part of the industry, but for the most part, it's not. And so I believe that the training that is offered to for profits is not as readily available, or as readily available in the way that nonprofits need it. So there's a ton of nonprofit like centers, and there's some of these like little localized here in this city or here in that city, but there's not this national push that says, hey, nonprofits, you guys need to learn how to sell. And then and also a lot of the nonprofits, they're run by the boards, and so the boards have to decide on these things. Well, where are we going to spend this money, and how are we going to spend this money? And marketing gets the shaft a lot, get a lot of help, and then also this coaching piece, this training piece. They want to train their people to do the actual work of the nonprofit, which is important because that's the whole reason they exist. But then they don't all leave a lot of resources left over to train the actual people going out there and getting the money, the fundraisers, the marketing teams, those people. And sometimes it's just one person that's doing all of it, and that can also be an issue.
I totally agree with you. I mean, you called it urban legends. You said nonprofits are broke. That's one. Here's a couple more. Nonprofits or charities. I cringe when I hear that, and I cringe when I hear board members say that, because a charity is you giving away stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it. We need to raise dollars to give away to kids who need special surgery. I get it, those charities, but not all nonprofits are charities where we just raise money to give it away. A lot of us raise money to operate a business or a service.
Well, and if you think about like St. Jude, I mean, they are doing that, what you just said. They're giving the monies to families to help children in the hospital and things like that, and through childhood cancer and research and all that. They have TV commercials. Those are expensive. So they're not leaving anything to chance with the marketing. They're not just saying, well, we hope people will give us money to give to these kids and these families and to give to
Sure.
research. They are really making sure that every time that you're at home on Easter Sunday, Easter or Thanksgiving or whenever that is, they're going to stick that big old 10-minute commercial in between when you're trying to watch something else, and they're going to say, look, this is important, focus up. And so they're really going for asking for the sales. Sometimes there's even whole infomercials that they put together, and those are really expensive. And but they're
Right.
not leaving that to chance. They're saying we are putting emphasis on this so that we know we're getting as many eyeballs as we need, we're getting the message out that we want to get out, and we're putting it out in the way we want to put it out. When you see those humane society, or those world hunger commercials, I mean, those things are long. They're getting your attention. They're showing poor children, poor animals, whatever that message is, and they're grabbing you, and they're getting you to sit there and watch for 5, 10, 15 minutes. So
That's
they're
right.
not leaving anything to chance. They're also charities, right? Think about churches, same thing. They have full media teams, video people, editors. They're doing podcasts. They're writing books. They are running a massive operation. One of the local churches here that I used to work for, they had 18 sites. Why? Because they're a business technically.
Yeah.
They're running separate entities. They had charities missions where they would fix people's cars. Like they would have all these mechanics. They had to tell you when they were fixing the cars, what the services were offered. They had a whole website for it. So, and then the pastor, he was writing books and speaking all over the country and doing podcasts and videos, and the team, I mean, was massive. And I was kind of running around going, okay, I'll help with this website, I'll help with this website. And it was interesting to see that there was a massive machine running. They were using all their resources. They weren't leaving, tons of money on the table. It wasn't like they weren't using the money, but they were employing people. They were using it for all the things they needed to get the message out. And then the people and the donors and the constituents came to them. So I think there's that gap as well, where the nonprofit world also has this idea that, well, if I build it, they will come. But if you don't tell them you're building it and you don't tell them when it's opening, then they won't come.
So true. So true. And let me just address another urban legend. Nonprofits are not businesses. Hashtag fake news.
Mhm.
we we are businesses. The difference is the bottom line goes to the program. And I think you said something earlier that I do agree with. We need more coaches. I don't think we build in our budgets the necessity of a coach on multiple levels or key targeted consultants. And I don't think it's for the lack of of access or lack of availability. I think it's for a lack of not putting dollars to it. And if the
Yeah.
board or a CEO has, as you said, a barrier of asking for the sale, if they struggle with confidence in selling their product, if they believe their nonprofit is a charity or not a business,
Yeah.
then they're
Hmm.
not going to see the importance of you, of me, or other people who are saying, well, wait a minute, I'm intentionally making myself available to you because I believe in the work that you do. It's just not free. And I think that is something nonprofits have to do with. Let's stay on that question for a little bit. We were talking about basic marketing skills every nonprofit should know. So I'm in the workforce development business. Talk to the person who is now going to be seeking, looking for a new job because of this virus. They've been laid off. Unemployment claims are through the roof nationally. What basic things can you say to job seekers as they are looking for new opportunities in this crisis?
It's not the way it used to be. Um, I've worked with a lot of people in that same position in the last couple of years. A lot of people have not been laid off, but they have wanted to change because everything was going well enough. They were like, I feel like I can move forward now and do the thing I want to do. And even during the recession, I would have a ton of people come to me and say, just fix my resume. That is not how it works anymore. And if you're going out there thinking that you're going to take your resume, you're going to go to Host Monster or Job Monster or whatever, and you're going to put it into the little thing and punch some buttons and go, okay, I'm ready for my job now. Like that's not going to work anymore. And so what we really have to do with people who are looking for positions, especially in this time, because people are hiring. There's people that are hiring right now. Believe it or not, I mean, like hundreds and thousands of workers. So if you go to LinkedIn and you beef up that resume on LinkedIn, and you make that, you could do like the 100%, get a star from LinkedIn for filling in your profile. That is what you need to start with. And the skill sets that are being looked for right now are not necessarily the same ones that were being looked at before. So we have to dig deeper as well to find what are some hidden skill sets or things that I don't think are very valuable that are actually very valuable. And how can I show that on my LinkedIn? And then how can I connect with people within the companies already working for the companies and the organizations that I want to work with, that I'm targeting. So instead of the job seeker actually sitting there and going, okay, well, send me some jobs and I'll pick one, whatever comes along first, or whoever offers me the most money, or whatever that kind of little level is that they're saying, okay, this is my check mark. Now what's happening is they need to be proactive, and they need to say, I was an engineer, I was laid off, and now I want to find another engineering job. Well, here are the top 5 companies I want to work for. I'm going to reach out to the HR manager from this company, the project manager from that company, a director in this company, the CEO of that company, and actually literally contact them personally through LinkedIn. Connect with them, say, I love your work. This is why I would love to work with your company. Can you tell me more? Who do I need to talk to? And not just calling them on the phone and getting to the secretary and kind of going through that whole dance and song, but actually going directly to LinkedIn and really targeting the companies. Now, not every single person is on LinkedIn, not every single company, but a lot of them are. And that is really the way that jobs are being placed now, is by recruiters, because they know what you don't know behind the scenes. Word of mouth. And if you know someone who knows someone who has a job, and then also through LinkedIn directly. So sometimes LinkedIn also has the payment plan where you can pay to be like up on the job searches, and they send you more stuff about job searching. It is worth the 60 or whatever it is dollars a month. Even if it's a tough time, put it on a credit card, utilize it, because if you can't get access to those types of things right now, putting your resume out on Indeed and just letting it sit there is not going to really do you any good. You're going to get job applications for, driving trucks and, all the same things that have always been the readily available jobs where, you can do these sign holding things. You could be a marketing specialist and you're really going to hold a sign on the side of a road kind of thing. So those jobs are always going to be out there, and they're always going to be bombarding everyone, regardless of your skills. But if you really want to get something targeted and go back to an industry you were in, or start into a new industry with your skills that you have, then you have to really be proactive, and you have to make it your full-time job to look for a job.
I love what you said, and I think it ties back to your 5. What did you call it? Your 5 steps of
The
marketing.
absolute marketing pillars, 5 pillars. Yeah.
5 pillars of absolute marketing. I want to get it right for you.
Yeah.
Absolute marketing. Your 5 pillars were branding, website, social media, email marketing, and blogging. And for job seekers, LinkedIn checks all of those boxes. I mean, it's where you can brand yourself. It is your website, and your website is / your resume. It's social media where you can post activity. I use it quite a bit to talk about work stuff, to talk about grant writing, fundraising, to talk about strategy, to talk about leadership, and people read it. People are engaging on LinkedIn as obviously a resume reader, but really as as the social media platform for working professionals. It takes away all the foolery that comes with Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And also, if you don't have an email list, I think you said it best. This is where you can just email market through direct messages, right? And it's a blogging platform. That is great advice.
Yeah, I recommend that to everyone. And like I said, you can't just put your picture up there, kind of fill in some of the details, and then just hope it works. You have to be all in. You have to really make sure that every section is filled out, and it's really robust, and your photo is professional, and you're choosing the proper, even those little banner background things. I mean, those kind of things are important too. So really making sure that your profile, like you said, is your website. It's where people are gonna really view you and see that brand that you're putting forth.
That's good. I got 2 more questions about marketing. Here's the first. How does this crisis, or any crisis, impact the marketing message of a nonprofit?
I really don't believe it does.
Mm.
I think we can address the crisis itself because we are kind of forced to. We have to close, doors of local nonprofits that are serving people, in person. We have to cancel galas. I have one nonprofit I'm working with, and she had to cancel her kind of mid year fundraiser, and she ended up sending the invitations anyway, and she had them changed right before she printed them, and she changed them to "You're not invited." You're invited to not come to the event. You're invited to stay home. You're invited to, because it was for like a cocktail thing. She said you're invited to drink whatever you want, to wear pants or not, and then here's where you buy a ticket to this thing you're not invited to. And she sent them out, and she got a great response because it was making fun of the times, giving people some levity. They were already planning to, to go to this event, or maybe they weren't. Maybe they were going to be busy that same night and they weren't going to be able to make it. But she was giving them the opportunity to say, "Hey, I'm still for this nonprofit. I'm still here for you. I'm still supporting you, even though I am physically incapable of making it there to be with you." So I thought it was a brilliant idea. But her message was the same. She still needs support. She's still running the nonprofit. They're still providing help to their constituents. So it's the messaging is the same, but addressing what's happening is part of. It's just kind of more fleeting. You don't have to dwell on it, because also dwelling on it, no one wants to be. I mean, I've gotten so many emails. I can't even count how many emails I've gotten that say COVID-19 in them. I mean, it's just it's just like, okay, I know that you're taking all the measures. I know you're taking all the steps. You don't even have to tell me. I didn't even send one out for that very reason, because I was like, everybody knows. I changed the banner on my website to say "Open We Stand," because we're still open and we're still helping people. So that was it. That was all I did. But like, you don't have to dwell on it. I don't feel like dwelling on these kinds of things is going to help, especially like with the economic crisis. People starting off every single email or every single communication saying, "With the current economic crisis," especially like in 2007, 2008, those kind of times. I was like, okay, yeah, I'm struggling. You're struggling. I get it. Just tell me what you want. Tell me what you need. Ask me for what you need, and I will see if I can help you in any way that I can. And usually, if people are already, predisposed to give, to be helpful, then that message will get through. And I say this to for-profits a lot. This is a very simple message. You don't want to have to convince someone to work with you, to buy your product, to donate to your cause. But if you can persuade them to do so, you're going to have a much stronger connection with that client, that donor, or whoever it is you're talking to. So trying to convince people is not going to work. They're never going to be convinced. But if you can persuade them, then you're going to have that stronger connection.
You share some amazing stuff. I mean, I think, it does get a little cheesy where you kind of state the obvious. Obviously, it's 100% of the news coverage, both local and state and national. And so I like how you said where you just leveraged the moment, right? Where your client talked about "you're not invited." And I don't know why I got the image that this person you're talking about may have invited people to a online gathering where people were invited to dress up and get on this social media platform or this platform like Zoom and have a drink and still attend the gala. Is that what happened, or how did she kind of what did she sell tickets to?
She's basically using the tickets as the donation. So instead of selling a $25 ticket, you get two drinks, and things like that. And you join people and you meet with them. She's saying, have a cocktail, sit in your backyard, isolate everyone, social distance, right? And she's
Right.
not requiring people to be anywhere at any time, but she's saying this ticket, this $25, instead of going to, part is going to the drinks, part is going to the venue, and then whatever's left over is going to the constituents and our cause is happening. She's actually saying, you buy this ticket to not come, and we're going to put
Gotcha.
all of that money towards what we're doing here with our cause. So I thought that was a brilliant idea, because instead of saying, okay, we're changing our regular event to an online event, and I've seen people do that. It's kind of been the norm. If you had an in-person event, everything is becoming a Zoom event, or a chat, some kind of online chat event. But she decided to just say, I'm not even doing that. Like, you're just not invited. You have to pay $25 to not come,
To not be
but
invited. Yeah,
noting
that's
that
good.
that $25 is to actually go to the people that need it.
I like that. And then I love what you said also when you said ask for what you want. And, having run a couple of businesses, launched a couple of businesses, I mean, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
I want or I need this. Can you make it happen? And I think we don't give in our industry, I don't think we don't I think we do not give funders, donors enough credit to already, like you said, have a predisposition to give or adjust to whatever we're asking for.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are just simply waiting for you to bring it up so they can just unburden themselves and say, I was waiting for you just to ask me for my money. This check is burning a hole in my pocket. And I think this goes back to what you were talking about earlier,
Yeah.
the barrier that we established, the lack of confidence, the confidence gap, and people are waiting. And then you talked about you shouldn't have to beg people to work with you or to donate to
Yeah.
you. I think that's in any area of life. If you have to convince somebody that you're worth it, that relationship may not be for you in the first place, whether it's
Right.
business or personal.
Mhm. Mhm.
Well,
Absolutely.
there's just one more thing I want to get to. You and I had this brief but awesome conversation about this. I don't know if it's a new service you're rolling out,
Yeah.
but I think it's completely relevant. So let me ask my question, and then you can go ahead and talk about it. But what are the key services nonprofits must acquire through a marketing consultant?
So I'm offering something called borrow a CMO, and sometimes nonprofits are small teams and they're being run by the director, who of course has the board kind of looming. Oh, I feel like they're always looming over their shoulder. And they they're herding the cats. They're dealing with what fundraiser are we going to do. They're dealing with how are we going to get the money for the rent for this building. How am I going to pay all these people? Where are our volunteers coming from? How many constituents have we served? Have we spent the money wisely? Okay, the board's telling me at least 5 things now. Okay, so they're really overwhelmed. And marketing, when it comes to marketing, they're like, hire the agency, or surely you can do it. Okay, just do the things, just do the marketing things. I don't know, just do them. And so that's a lot of what I see from these directors. And so with my new service that I'm offering, I've been doing this for nonprofits for a while, but I just like officially ask for the sale and say, look, I'm doing this now for nonprofits specifically, where I will come in as the marketing CMO, because not a lot of these places don't have a chief marketing officer. They don't have the budget for that. And I'll come in and I'll sit for an entire day. I will manage the team for that day. I will, take the onus off of mom in a way. Say, okay, let me babysit for a while. Let me take this over, and I will actually delegate the tasks to the team. We'll come up with the correct strategy. Let me manage the team from a marketing aspect, because all aspects have to touch marketing. I was in a nonprofit meeting a couple of years back, and it was for the marketing team, and they kept talking about, we need to get membership up. How do we get membership up? And I said, is this the membership committee? And they said, well, no, the membership committee meets on Thursday. This is the marketing team. And I said, has anybody talked to the membership committee? And they said, well, sometimes Larry comes over and he comes to both meetings, but not often. And I was like, okay, wait a minute. If we are marketing about membership, then we need to talk to them. Why don't we have a joint meeting where we meet once a quarter jointly instead of having two separate meetings, so that we can actually get our membership up, because the membership team is telling us all the info they have and we're helping them with all the pieces that we have. They were just like, oh, I don't know about that. I don't know. And so with this borrow a CMO, I'm saying, let me sit down with all those people. Let me sit down with that whole team and say, talk to me about fundraising. Talk to me about, memberships. Talk to me about getting people, getting the message to the people who need the service versus the donors, and kind of looking at the whole picture, and what does this group need, and what does that group need, and what does that group need, coming up with that strategy together, which can often be, like I said, overwhelming or even out of the wheelhouse of the director, because they're doing a completely different job. They're doing a CEO job, in most cases, and sometimes a CFO job too. So I'm coming in as this separate person, looking at it from a high level, seeing things that they're not seeing, because when we're sitting there looking at it ourselves, we're like, like this. It's just so close, you can't even really see it at all. And I'm coming in with this huge overview look at it and saying, oh, I see the hole there. Oh, I see the issue there. Yeah, we can totally fix that if you will do X, Y, and Z here, and you will do A, B, and C here. And when all those pieces are delegated and actually implemented, then I give a 30-day session where we just don't need me. They might be able to ask questions or whatever, but they really don't need me. And then after 30 days, they've been able to have time to implement all the things we talked about. And then we have a follow-up call. And it's just a one-time thing. It doesn't have to be an ongoing thing. It could be if they need it, but it's really to just give the team that boost, to give the team that like morale booster, if you will, just to kind of get everybody on the same page again. Because sometimes they just fall into their own buckets and they just stop talking because they're all so busy and they can't actually get a meeting together. But when someone comes in to kind of unify that and say, let's sit down, we're talking about this one aspect of the organization, marketing, but how it's touching every single part of the organization, then it really can be a unifying thing, morale boosting, and all of that, but also get things accomplished that maybe weren't able to be accomplished before.
So when you shared that idea with me, I absolutely fell in love with it because I think that is where small businesses, nonprofit for profits can win. When you can't afford Elizabeth full time and her full suite of services, that injection of that 30-day consultation, 30-day rental fee, if you will, can
Yeah.
mean the world. And you said something earlier where you help your clients develop a 12-month social media cycle where I'm
Yeah.
assuming you're using a platform to pre-populate the message and this thing goes out automatically without you even thinking about it. And I'm
Yes.
sure you do that and much, much more to help small businesses and small nonprofits and mid-sized nonprofits get on track. And I would tell you, and I share this with you, there are larger nonprofits who struggle with their social media presence, what to do, how to do it. They do great work, they generate good revenue, but they
Mhm.
fall in the same trap of not setting aside the right amount of money for marketing and branding and other key services. So, and I think this segues into us wrapping up the podcast. Tell people what else you want them to know about your business, what you're offering. Tell them how to get in contact with you, and what's the best way to use you. Particularly, talk to my nonprofit audience. What's the best way to use you once they get a hold of you and you have available clientele slots, and I'm assuming you have limited availability. What's the best way to use you to build
You.
their message and get the word out?
Yeah, thank you so much. That's a great question. And I do appreciate you having me on the podcast, just first of all, because this has become a passion of mine, this nonprofit sector, because I've seen the struggles that we've talked about through this whole podcast. And I really see the solutions also. These aren't insurmountable problems. These are very, almost sometimes easily solved problems. And I feel like that you and I and some of the other professionals that are in the field that are doing some of the same things we're doing and saying the same things we're saying are going to really make a difference in a lot of nonprofits and then in turn in the impact they're able to make in the world. So thank you so much. But as far as reaching out to me and connecting with me, I have a website called beyondthecause.co, and I have all my services laid out. They have all their pricing laid out, and I've decided to do something a little different. I've decided for nonprofits, I'm offering a percentage based service because $1,800 a month or whatever my normal thing I would say to a small business and say, this is what you need, find the money, let's do this. The nonprofits have a totally different world they're dealing with as far as income. So I have decided to do something a little different and trying to break the mold there and not just be the typical agency. And I offer the solid foundation of those 5 pillars. Maybe you need the website piece, maybe you need the branding piece, maybe you need all 5. And those have it's like one set flat fee. They're very, very simple pricing. I don't want people to get like, well, I can't afford that and I can't afford that and I can't afford that. So it's just flat fee for those 5 pillars. And then once you get into the ongoing maintenance where we're helping you on the monthly basis, this back office support, we are that CMO. We have a percentage based pricing. And then we have the borrow a CMO. And that is just one time. Let me come in. Let me help you. If you need me again, I'm here. But if you don't need me again, I want to see you do better because of this. So that's just a flat fee, one time, one and done. And so those are the 3 ways that I really think that I can help nonprofits is by setting up those 5 pillars, helping them with ongoing back office support, or doing the borrow a CMO option. And I love seeing people come to me for any of those options and growing and thriving because of those things that we've been able to help them with.
Well, Elizabeth, thank you so much. This has been super helpful. Hope that you and your family are going to stay safe out here in the midst of this crazy, don't say it, coronavirus pandemic. This is the Dr. William Clark podcast. We'll see you in the next episode, everybody. Peace.
Have you ever wondered how large nonprofits consistently generate millions of dollars? Have you ever wondered how to write the perfect grant or how to successfully manage a grant or even how to find money beyond grants? Hi, my name is Dr. William Clark, and I'm the creator and instructor of What You Should Know Before Applying for Grants. This masterclass has over 28 modules of training, and it comes with tools, tips, and tricks on how to generate significant money for your nonprofit. Some students have been fortunate enough to build six-figure programs, and others have been fortunate enough to triple their fundraising results because of this masterclass. Whatever your fundraising goals are, this masterclass can help you achieve them. To register your seat, simply go to mysixfigurefunding.com. That's mysixfigurefunding.com, and you'll be taken immediately into our student portal where you can access all of our trainings. You can take the trainings on demand, at your own pace, and at any time. You even can interact with other students and me all online from the comfort of your home or your office. If you want to secure your seat today for this masterclass, what you should know before applying for grants, simply go to mysixfigurefunding.com. Again, that's mysixfigurefunding.com. And I'm looking forward to learning with you and growing with you as you achieve your fundraising goals for your nonprofit.